From our studio located in Madison, New Jersey, this is Real Good News. This is Real Good News with Lisa Allen, Tommy Nonnenmaker, Diane Kirsch, and Allen Swanson. Welcome to another edition of Real Good News. I'm Diane Kirsch. Lisa Allen is off this week and will rejoin us on our next episode. New Jersey is home to hundreds of abandoned mines hidden beneath roads, neighborhoods, shopping centers, and forests. These mines were once active sites for iron, zinc, and copper extraction. But today they pose serious risks, including sinkholes and ground collapses. Many of these mines were abandoned over a century ago with little documentation of their locations, making it difficult to predict where collapses might happen. Here is a look at a map showing abandoned mines in northern New Jersey. Some of the highest risk areas include parts of Morris, Sussex, and Warren counties, where mining was once a major industry. In recent years, sinkholes caused by collapsing mine shafts have appeared in backyards, on hiking trails, and even beneath major highways. In December, a massive 40-foot sinkhole emerged on I-80 eastbound near exit 34, leading to significant traffic disruptions. And then, in February, another sinkhole appeared just 75 feet from the previous one, prompting further closures and extensive repairs. Initial testing revealed a significant void beneath the center lane of I-80 eastbound, requiring more extensive and lengthy repairs than initially expected. Efforts are underway to map and monitor these sites, but with so many undocumented mines, the risk remains. Residents in high-risk areas are encouraged to stay informed and report any signs of sudden ground shifts or depressions. If you would like to view the map of abandoned mine shafts in the state, follow the link on your screen and enter Abandoned Mines in the search box. On March 1st, the Madison Police Department held a community outreach event, Coffee with a Cop. Real Good News caught up with Chief John Miskia, and here is what he had to say about the event.
Hey, good morning. I'm John Misha, police chief in Madison here, and we are at Delicitos at 42 Main Street in Madison for Coffee with a Cop. The reason we chose Delicitos is to bridge our relationship with the Hispanic community in town. I know there's been a lot of concerns regarding the immigration and questions about what law enforcement's responsibilities are during any enforcement activities by the federal authorities. And we're just here to provide them the literature and talk to them and just interact with them and support this part of our community. And we're happy that we're here with our officers and our governing body, our mayor, council members, and our great officers of Madison.
Our reporter noted the event was a big success, with many members of the community turning out to engage with the town's police officers and to show their support for the community. The Summit Police Department is now accepting applications for its 2025 Summer Youth Academy. This program gives kids ages 10 to 14 a hands-on experience of police training and operations. There are 2 sessions running from July 21st to July 25th and July 28th to August 1st. The Academy runs daily from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., and tuition is $125, with scholarships available for financial hardship. Cadets will take part in physical training, crime investigations, and visits to the Union County Police Academy. They'll also see live demonstrations from specialized units like the Sheriff's K-9 team and SWAT team. Applications are open from March 3rd through April 1st and can be found online at cityofsummit.org or at Summit Police Headquarters in City Hall. Accepted applicants will be notified by April 15th, and tuition payments are due by April 18th. For more information, contact Officer David Kotiga using the information on your screen. Morris County has unveiled a new logo to commemorate America's 250th anniversary. The design features an image of George Washington honoring the county's role in the American Revolution. Morris County was a key winter encampment for Washington and the Continental Army in 1777 and again in 1779 to 1780. The new logo represents the county's deep historical roots and contributions to the nation's founding. Leading up to 2026, Morris County will host events celebrating its role in American history, inviting residents and visitors to take part in the commemoration. Morris County's 2025 budget keeps the tax rate flat for the 6th year in a row, while prioritizing public safety, human services, and infrastructure. That means residents get continued investment in roads, bridges, law enforcement, and community programs without paying more taxes. One of the biggest impacts: more funding for emergency services and mental health programs, ensuring faster response times and expanded support for those in need. By keeping costs steady while improving services, the county is making smart investments that directly benefit local families and businesses. The 2025 Clark Resident Guide is now available online. This guide has everything residents need to know, including community events, public work services, election dates, tax information, and the senior citizen bus schedule. It also includes direct contacts at Town Hall for any township-related questions. The guide is updated throughout the year to keep information current. Residents can access it at any time by visiting ourclark.com. Summit is gearing up for its annual Earth Day cleanup on Saturday, March 29, from 9 a.m. to noon, with a rain date set for Sunday, March 30th. Organized by the Summit Environmental Commission, the event invites volunteers of all ages to help clean up local parks and open spaces. Participants can join on-site at Bryan Park or Martins Brook Park, while groups are encouraged to email organizers in advance at summitearthdaycleanup@gmail.com for an assigned location. Volunteers should bring work gloves and a reusable water bottle. Community service hours are available, and students in grades 8 through 12 can attend without a parent if they bring a signed permission form. For more details or to get a permission form, email summitearthdaycleanup@gmail.com. It's a great way to give back and keep Summit looking its best this Earth Day. Union County is inviting job seekers to a major employment fair next month. The Pathways to Employment Job Fair will take place on Monday, March 10th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Warenenko Sports Center in Roselle. Hosted by the Union County Board of County Commissioners and the American Job Center. The event is free and open to all Union County residents. Attendees will have the chance to connect with over 30 companies, including FedEx, the American Red Cross, the Port Authority, and the U.S. Navy. Employers interested in participating can use the contact information on your screen. Recently, I had the opportunity to sit down with Artis Chino Ridge and speak about her work and her influences. Here is her story. Your grandfather's Japanese-style paintings and your mother's clay art clearly had a big impact on you. How did these influences shape your artistic style?
So I grew up watching my mother creating clay art. And also I remember visiting my granddad and while he was making art. And so he drew me a frog, with this Japanese, old sort of the brush, just like a second, just so beautifully, and that really stays in my mind. Still, I was really little. The people create with their own hands, and so that's what I always wanted to focus in my art.
You discovered vitreous enamel during your studies at Yokohama College of Art. What drew you to this material, and what makes it special in your work?
Yes, when I entered that university in Japan, I was still late teen. Suddenly just like struck by this vision, to be honest, and of this material, which were really very old school kind of materials and traditional sort of craft media. But nobody was actually using that sort of skill or materials to like modern way. Then I saw that sort of potential in that materials because it's got all the colors and the textures, all that. So I saw that I had a vision to use that for my art. So that was the moment that I kind of realized, this is what I should be doing.
You've studied and worked in Japan, France, and the UK. How have these different cultural experiences influenced your approach to art?
It's been a long way that obviously that the life, you have to pay your bills. So I started working for a fashion industry in Tokyo, and that's really early 20s. So when I created sort of accessories and all that for a very up and coming brand in Tokyo, and then I saw them in their launching party in a brand shop in middle of Shibuya or somewhere, and I was so shocked and I was so disappointed. This effort that I put it in to create these items for them, or that like I repeated like 100 of them sold in one place for just one of 100, one of 1,000 of items, and I was so disappointed. So I thought, this is not me. So I really wanted to create something a bit more, I don't know, how do I say it? Like I wouldn't say valuable, but just unique, and it's not product, but it's something has got soul. So that kind of creativity that I really wanted to do. So it's the same thing. So coming to London, I still have to work because I need to pay a bill. But it always stayed in me, this is not me, I have to do at some point, I have to really do art.
And what were some of the biggest challenges in transitioning from the fast-paced fashion world to creating conceptual art and sculptures?
So because the designer career had been really long, so it was a bit harder to switch over completely. Although I had been creating here and there at home and all that, but life is funny that that brand that I was working in London kind of went down a hill. So that really gave me opportunity to kind of, okay, maybe I should do my art. So that really encouraged me to kind of step aside, and I kind of did enough. So I had kind of I had enough of designing jewelries and all that. So it was the right moment. Everything became sort of right place to really step into the next sort of journey. But it was hard to basically being trained as a designer to design something that the world wants, and then it becomes like bestsellers and all that. That was my job. But artist not. Artist me wants to say something through my art, or creates it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody will like it. So it's a completely different way of creativity and mindsets. And so I needed really, it took 3 or 5 years to really switch over completely to become an artist, really completely an artist. But the first love to do art is not that purpose. Yeah, it's just stirring up this, energy that you just can't stop creating, expressing. So that's really it.
Your work combines traditional silversmithing, vitreous enameling, and even vintage kimono silk. What inspires your material choices, and how do you decide which elements to use in a piece?
Like I was brought up with my mom's mom creating, using clay and ceramics and all that. So that really put me to study the silversmithing or vitreous enamel in Japan, because I wanted to try something different materials. I was so curious. And then in fashion field, which I had to deal with different type of like leather or the gemstones or anything. And then in London, I studied silversmithing, so that comes to the gold and silver and all that, copper, different materials, and then now I inherited this beautiful silk materials from my family, which is completely different to hard metals or clay, a bit dirty clay, and so clean but equally it's really malleable. So throughout life, I've been through, sort of experiencing different materials, and so that's my kind of treasure. Really, I can use anything because I'm really familiar to everything.
Many of your works seem to challenge conventional ideas of beauty and utility. How do you define beauty in your art?
A certain confidence I have as an artist is from all those experiences in the industries, different industries that I've been through. So it's very hard to explain it, but it's there. So that's what I can rely on. Something feels really right.
Can you tell us about the OPDC Ideas Book Commission and what it means for your work?
So the local authority, so they wanted to create this art book for the cultural rejuvenation. So I created for them for their one theme they wanted me to create for, and so. I had it really fun. That's also another challenge that I wouldn't do, but because they want this theme, and that really, it's kind of fun to explore in that way. And so they are launching that book at last the end of this month, I think. So there will be the exhibition. So I get to exhibit that work for their launching sort of parties. So that's what it is.
Do you have any upcoming exhibitions or projects that you're excited about?
Yes, so I'm so excited about this. So where I have my studio in London, so they asked me to do some art show, and so I said yes. So I have this massive sort of idea to do. It's about, I wouldn't say too much, but it's about onomatopoeia. So the word, because I'm Japanese, we use so many words expressing the sound and sound. Onomatopoeia, so sounds. So we have so many sounds to express tiny little details. For example, of the rain, we have so many different words to express a different type of rains and all that. So I'm focusing on that. I want to collaborate with the videographer and the dancer to do the whole kind of installation against my tapestry artwork. So it's here, but it's going to be quite a sort of a new thing, I think, and it's going to be fun.
What advice would you give to artists who want to move from commercial design into fine art?
Yeah, I think we all need to listen to this voice stirring up within us, and which is, I would say, is the calling, really. We need to be a bit more careful to listen to that rather than just erase because of the world perceptions or the logic sometimes kills our dream. So, yeah.
The work of Chino Ridge is on display at the Madison Community Arts Center for the month of March. And now, here is Tommy Nonnenmaker.
Thank you, Diane. So many area high schools had their winter performances this past weekend, and we salute all the rising thespians, musicians, stage creators, producers, and everyone in front and behind the curtain. Summit High School performed The Prom. Both a comedy and a musical, The Prom is a story about 4 Broadway stars who descend upon an ultra-conservative Midwest town. Summer Lovin' came to Whippany Park High School with their production of everyone's favorite 50s hit, Grease. Hanover Park High School rocked on with songs from Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, and Journey in Rock of Ages. The latest sports news revolves around high school wrestling. 6 Morristown wrestlers punched their tickets to the Region 3 championship after a hard-fought battle on the mats. The first round and quarterfinals took place Friday, with wrestlebacks, semifinals, and finals continuing through Saturday. Representing Morristown in Region 3, Colin McDonald at 126 pounds, Ben Gorodnik at 132 pounds, Demetrius Mihalakakis at 175 pounds, Henry Saxon at 190 pounds, Brian Recarte at 215 pounds, Graydon Garsich at heavyweight 285 pounds, and they weren't the only ones making waves. 3 Madison wrestlers also advanced to regions, competing through the intense 2-day event. Meanwhile, over at Nutley High School, Summit High School's wrestling team made history at the district championships with a total of 100 points. Summit clinched 4th place, their highest finish in a decade. Summit head coach Dan Gollin called it, quote, a great weekend at Nutley High School for the districts, and his wrestlers delivered standout performances. Sam Henry captured the district title and became the first Summit wrestler to surpass 100 career wins since 2017. Shan Singh earned a runner-up finish, the first Summit freshman to reach the district finals since 2014. Tyler Sebastian also finished 2nd, adding key points to Summit's tally. Emin Whitaker, Tamir Senekaya, and Konal Jalepsi all fought hard and placed 4th in their respective weight classes. A huge congratulations to all the wrestlers for their grit and determination on the mats. The road to the championship is heating up, and we'll be following the action closely. Spring is less than 3 weeks away, and that means it's time for high school fashion shows. The tradition is popular among senior classes throughout the area. A theme is chosen, and seniors model fun and fashion-forward outfits usually lent by local retail vendors. The events take a lot of preparation and are usually combined with a tricky tray or auction component in an effort to raise funds for the high school. 2 fashion shows are coming up soon. Hanover Park High School is having their event on March 13th, and Chatham High School is having theirs on March 14th. Good luck to all the models and show designers. Diane, back to you.
We welcome Steve Lebutkin back to Real Good News, who takes a look at a new documentary that covers the Newark Rebellion of 1967.
The city of Newark has experienced an incredible economic and business renaissance in recent years. We've seen expansion of the downtown arts district around the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. There's the arrival of the Prudential Center for sports and music fans, and the redevelopment of old buildings along McCarter Highway into Showplace corporate headquarters. Back in the 1960s, though, the city was in decline and its residents were suffering. The frustration boiled over in the summer of 1967, and a recent documentary film from Newark videographer Kevin McLaughlin takes a look at the underlying causes of Newark's economic decline and its rebirth. I recently had a conversation with Kevin about his film. In July 1967, following the arrest of a black cab driver by police, the city of Newark erupted into several days of violent urban unrest. Today, it's hard to believe that an event that few people remember or know anything about could have had such a huge impact on millions of people. Documentary filmmaker Kevin McLaughlin is out with a new film about Newark. It's called Riot. While the rioting killed 26 people and certainly had a major effect on the families of those people, countless others were affected in many ways. Hundreds of family businesses were destroyed, many thousands of people were displaced, and the white flight that was already underway was accelerated exponentially. That movement of people reverberated throughout the state, spurring development much farther out in the suburbs than it might ever have gone otherwise. The story can be considered a crystal ball for communities like Ferguson and Baltimore, where current-day conflicts threaten to thrust those cities into a similar downward spiral. I'm pleased to have Kevin McLaughlin here today to discuss his film and the future of Newark. Since graduating from Seton Hall University and earning a master's degree in television and film from the Newhouse School at Syracuse University, Kevin's worked in feature films, broadcast, documentary, and educational television in a career that spans more than 30 years. He spent the last 5 years working on Riot. After a successful run on the film festival circuit, the film's had several distribution offers. It's now updated with material relating to the events of 2020 and will be airing on PBS member stations very soon. Kevin, thanks for joining us on the program today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So you made this documentary about the riot or the rebellion or the civil disturbances that happened in Newark in the summer of 1967. What made you decide to tackle this topic so many years afterwards?
Well, I'm a storyteller at heart. I've always been doing some kind of filmmaking, storytelling. I had a number of narrative features that I wanted to make. I wasn't finding the money for those. So I thought this is something I could do out of my own pocket for the most part. And I got started. It's a story that I basically grew up with. It's I grew up in the shadow of it, I say, because all of the aftermath is what people of my generation kind of grew up with. The schools emptying out, the neighborhoods emptying out, the white flight that happened mostly because of the riots. And we call it a riot. I mean, we always called it a riot. That's all I ever heard until I started working on this. Was the first time I learned that some people prefer to call it other things.
I know the first time I went back to Newark to report on a town hall meeting that Mayor Baraka was holding at the NJPAC, to discuss development efforts that were going on in Newark at the time, and we'll get to those a little bit later. I remember him saying, since the rebellion, and it was jarring to my ears, having always heard of the situation referred to as a riot.
Right. There's some interesting material in the program about this. We actually kind of covered a little bit, and the late Dr. Price makes a great statement that kind of puts it into perspective for a lot of us. He says that, you compare it to the Boston Tea Party.
As I've told my students over the years, we Americans see the Boston Tea Party as this kind of rise of discontent against the crown. Well, the people in England saw it as a riot.
This is Dr. Clement Price, who is the unofficial historian of the city of Newark. I got to meet him a couple of times on trips to Newark, and was very impressed with his encyclopedic knowledge of the whole Newark community.
Yeah, he was a great part of this film, and his involvement encouraged other people to get involved. He was kind of a stamp of approval. Once he was in, other people agreed to participate. So I'm very much indebted to him, and the film was dedicated both to him and to my late father, who was also in the film. He was a fire captain in Newark.
One of the things that struck me when I watched the movie was the fact that, and it surprised me, that even though there were so many deaths and so much injury and damage to property, there was very little accountability. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that it was just such a chaotic time that week that it was almost impossible to identify anybody who caused a death. And on top of that, there was a great, very strong sentiment in the city, I think, to just put it behind us, to forget about it and get it in the past as quickly as possible.
Towards the end of the movie, you look at where Newark has come since the 1967 disturbances. And it's been a story of slow progress, but in more recent years, more progress. What do you think has changed things and made people more willing to look at Newark as an opportunity for economic rebirth today?
Well, I guess in the region in general, there's a shortage of real estate, and Newark real estate happens to be in a spectacular place. It's so centrally located to airports and marine ports, to New York City, to Philadelphia, and a lot of it was abandoned and was available cheap. So it kind of had to come back sooner or later, and now it's pretty much booming. And I think those who want to get involved are, if you haven't done it by now, you may be too late.
And what's the message you want people to take away about Newark's future?
Well, I think the future is bright. It's certainly not without its challenges. I think, I'm more concerned about the lesson that people might get from this about dealing with conflict and how this might have been avoided, which all comes down to people not listening to others or not caring about other people's concerns or points of view.
There was one clip in the film where one of the residents of Newark said, "We don't want to get to that point again. No normal people should get to the point of doing something like that."
I don't think any right-thinking person would ever want that kind of thing to happen again.
Should the boiling pot never boil over again? If it does, shame on us.
Right. I think that's an interesting thing I'm learning about as I get older, that history repeats itself because a lot of people weren't around the last time this happened. So hopefully this kind of helps younger people understand what goes wrong when things get out of hand, and maybe we prevent it the next time.
If you want to see my complete interview with Kevin McLaughlin, you can just scan the QR code on the screen or visit bit.ly/SBN Newark Film. And of course, you can see all of our news reports at statebroadcastnews.com. We'll be back with more stories soon. I'm Steve Lubetkin, State Broadcast News.
Thank you, Steve. And now, Allen Swanson.
It seems like every day in New Jersey, someone else has something to say about affordable housing. In most cases, what is said is negative. We've been told all kinds of reasons why the obligation to include affordable housing development was bad and pushed on us by Democrats, the governors, the courts, and who knows who else. Many people believe affordable housing obligations just came about in the last few years. The fact is, the movement in New Jersey to provide affordable housing to lower income families began 60 years ago. Let me say that again. The movement that led to today's affordable housing obligations began in the mid-1960s. That movement resulted in what we now refer to as the Mount Laurel Doctrine. That doctrine was the result of the 1975 New Jersey Supreme Court ruling, which stated every municipality in New Jersey was obligated to provide the opportunity for creating affordable housing. It is appropriate that at the conclusion of February, Black History Month, and the beginning of Women's History Month in March, that we recognize the woman who has come to be referred to as the Rosa Parks of affordable housing. That woman is New Jersey's own Ethel Lawrence. Lawrence was a resident of Mount Laurel, a preschool teacher. Her ancestors had traveled on the Underground Railway from slavery in the South nearly 2 centuries earlier. In fact, all of Mount Laurel had become an enclave of former slaves and their descendants. Ethel and others in the 1960s were concerned because the local leadership had decided they wanted to exploit the opportunity to bring wealthy commuters from Philadelphia to live in Mount Laurel. One way they planned to bring that wealth into town was exclusionary zoning. Exclusionary zoning refers to the practice of requiring larger lots that support only expensive housing. During that period, it was the mayor of Mount Laurel, Mayor Bill Haynes, who said at a public meeting to Ethel and the black community, "If you can't afford to live in our town, then you'll just have to leave." His statement led to bringing the forces together who brought the lawsuit with Ethel Lawrence named as the primary plaintiff. The result was a unanimous Supreme Court decision requiring all municipalities to provide for affordable housing construction. The Mount Laurel ruling started a decades-long litigation, legislative fighting, government leader barriers, and significant divisions among citizens. The result? Most municipalities did very little to expand their affordable housing opportunities. Mount Laurel did open an affordable housing project named for Ethel Lawrence in 1997. Unfortunately, Ethel had passed away in 1994 and missed the opportunity to see it. The disputes over affordable housing continued until 2015, a full 40 years after the first Mount Laurel ruling. That year, the New Jersey Supreme Court announced it was obvious that state leadership and municipalities were never going to give up the fight against affordable housing. They ruled that each town must come to a settlement agreement with the courts that obligated zoning for construction of affordable housing. The settlement process was complex, but towns knew they had to comply. The result? Now, nearly 60 years after Ethel Lawrence, the NAACP, and others took up the fight, we are seeing the expansion of needed multi-unit construction projects that either include affordable housing units along with market rate units, or in some cases, developments of exclusively affordable housing units. We have seen towns like Madison, Summit, Chatham Township, and many more embrace the construction of affordable housing and have invested their own funds along with other sources of revenue to construct high quality, well-located housing that is affordable. Unfortunately, as we have moved into the next phase of new affordable housing obligations over the next 10 years, we continue to see opposition to the inclusion of affordable housing in some towns. A small group of wealthy towns, less than 30 out of the 564 in New Jersey, joined together to fight the new affordable housing obligations in court. They have consistently lost in every case. In New Jersey, most communities are currently in the process of reviewing and developing plans for fulfilling affordable housing obligations through the next 10 years. This means more affordable housing will be integrated into the planning of municipalities across the state. That housing is, in my view, a good thing. It brings diversity to many communities. And contrary to what you may be hearing, diversity is a good thing. It allows for some people who work in the communities to be able to live in those communities. It allows some people to move away from the crowded and pollution that's present in many of our cities. It's a shame that Ethel Lawrence did not live long enough to see how significant her contribution to inclusion and diversity ended up a full 50 years after the court case with her name on it. I'm Allen Swanson. Thank you for watching.
We will be back on March 23rd. For Real Good News, I'm Diane Kirsch. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the presenters and contributors. While we support a diversity of perspectives, they may not reflect the views of the entire team. We encourage open dialogue and welcome differing viewpoints. Real Good News is produced by Mortenveld Productions. For Real Good News, I'm Diane Kirsch.